Hello everyone, it's me Jenny and it's time for another comic commentary, the show where I respond to all of your comments, both typing wise and then I talk about them as well, and yeah, I try and respond to every single comment that gets commented in the previous week, so that's the Monday to Sunday, and as you can tell I've now moved the show from, has been for the last year and a half on the Wednesday. And I don't know why I chose the Wednesday for a comic commentary because, to be honest, you know, it would be nice to give you guys 5 days to actually get all your comments in because that would be a good thing to do. So now it's going to be on a Friday, even though this is filmed on not a Friday, but there we go. And as you can tell, I tend to ramble during these shows, which is why it's a low definition, it's on my web camera, less good audio than normal, less good visuals as normal, but it does mean that I can rattle on for a bloomin' long time, which I tend to do. So yeah, those of you who don't know what that is, this is what this is. It's my commentary where I talk about my comments a lot. So I've just finished responding to all of your comments from last week, so that's Monday to Sunday. And I'm just going to quickly go through them and see where we get. So last Monday's video was my Wendy should never do the brave thing, don't starve single player video. And the only commenter on that was KSJ, who said, imagine if the first Hobbit movie ended with, look, the birds are returning to the mountain. I shall take that as a good sign. Now then, need another hot chocolate. I was drinking a lot of hot chocolate that night. I think I was very, very tired that night and I didn't want to do caffeine. So instead I was doing lots and lots of hot chocolate. So yeah, that was good show on me. I think it might have also been pretty chilly, so like, oh, I want a warm drink, but I don't want caffeine. So hot chocolate, lots and lots of hot chocolate that night. On my Tuesday video, which hindsight, I thought the lighting was better until I'd finished filming, and I thought the lighting wasn't great that day, so I'm sorry for the poor lighting on that particular video. But yes, Chicago movie review. Mark Amano said, your review makes it sound similar to Sucker Punch. I suppose you should watch this now. He should watch this now that he works in Chicago. And he thinks that Sweeney Todd is his favourite musical, that and the Rocky Horror Picture Show Live. Sucker Punch I have a lot of problems with as a film. I think in order to go into the details of my opinion on that film, I probably would have to do an entirely separate video, even with this being a prerequisite rambly show. The thing with Sucker Punch is feminism is a very, very, very complicated perspective, and it is unique to each person and each, regardless of gender. Sucker Punch is not what I'd call a feminist film, although it was marketed as one, which always kind of sets my teeth on edge. It's so, again, I'm probably going to need an entire video to discuss it and actually have bullet points, or else I'll just tangent and ramble. But yes, I have a lot of problems with Sucker Punch as a film. I think, again, kind of like Batman v Superman in that it's visually gorgeous. It's beautiful to look at. But if I actually read into anything after that point, it tends to get me rather annoyed. But, you know, that's a thought for another day, I think. Sweeney Todd, I have seen part of it live, and I've seen, obviously, the film. I can't remember whether or not I watched that for Movie Club. I think I watched it for Movie Club, I don't know. I'll have to look back at my old videos. If I did, it was 2 or 3 years ago. I can remember it being quite disturbing for Movie Club, which is the whole point of the show, so I guess that kind of worked well. I've seen, as I said, half of the show live. I went to a showing from my local opera house, but I was there as a first aider, so halfway through we had to leave the viewing booth, wander around, check no one was getting ill, and then come back, so I only really saw about half of it. But it was well produced for a local, you know, run out of a school theatre. I have never seen the full thing live. I should probably put that on my to-watch list at some point. Rocky Horror Picture Show, I've never seen live, but I, again, watched it for Movie Club the first time, and I now have it on DVD because that is one of the most surreal films of all time. It is weird, to say the least. moving on. Nathan Lyle says he saw the movie once when he was young, and he doesn't know why he remembers not liking it. It's weird taking first person and putting it into third person, but he does love the soundtrack. Yeah, I love the soundtrack. I don't actually own it. It's one of the few movies that I own that's a musical that I don't also have the soundtrack for it. I can understand really not liking Chicago. As I said in my video, I showed it to my friend, and like I think I had the mental sophistication to realise that it wasn't necessarily a family-friendly film, but somewhere in the back of my brain I was like, it's musicals, it's happy no matter what. So even with the violence that ensues, I could kind of mentally gloss over that. I think I had selective viewing privileges for that, because I can, even though there is very dark content in there, I completely glossed over it. So I can understand not liking it if you are. It depends on how young you were when you watched it, but if you're of a more sensitive nature, or watching it very young, I can understand not enjoying Chicago, at least the first part. But I can also just, it's not for everyone. Films are not for everyone. Yeah, I really love that film, and I've watched it so many times. And I will have to talk about All That Jazz at some point, because that is one of the most visually interesting films of all time. And no one that I know has ever seen All That Jazz. So I think maybe I might do some sort of visual capture video for that. Because I want to talk about it, but I want to talk about it with actual visual references. So I might save that for maybe a Saturday, Sunday video, and do like a full in-depth movie review. I don't know. It's just one of those films that I've never talked to anyone else who's seen it, and I think it's such a good film. It's been a very, very long time since I watched it though, so I probably need to rewatch it and see whether or not it's worth making a full-length video rather than just a standard one-take movie review. But I will keep you up to date on that, I guess. Moving on, Ranger 7 Studios said it's a brilliant film and makes a decent movie as far as movie musicals go. Probably one of the best adaptations from stage to screen. Granted, he's little bars because he played Billy Flynn. Oh, the memories. And Kander and Epps were geniuses. You should repost the karaoke video. Also, it was directed by Rob Marshall and his brother from Gary's Son. I don't know what the Penny's brother from Gary's Son bit means, so I'm just going to gloss over that. Feel free to comment and explain that one if you like. I'm very impressed with the fact that you played Billy Flynn. We weren't allowed to do Chicago. My dance teacher really, really wanted to do Chicago in school, but because of the adult content, we weren't allowed to do it. I mean, it makes sense in hindsight, making if a bunch of 14 to 17-year-old girls were doing some of the dances that are in Chicago. It might not have been entirely appropriate, but yeah, we weren't allowed to do it. Also, because of I went to a mixed-sex school, so if you're doing Chicago, it's a very single-gendered show to perform. Like, there is only 2 male characters, really, and the rest are female. So it is rather hard to adapt that to a mixed-sex school unless you have, people being more flexible about their genders than is usually usual teenagers have the confidence to do. So at least in a relatively conservative area. So I can see it not being a particularly able show for the entire school production. I think maybe we could have done it as a sixth form performance. I think maybe we should have done it as one of our performing arts A-level performance pieces. We could just have done one dance, and it would have been in Bob Fosse style, it would have been jazz, it would have been classic. Hindsight's 2020. In a way, I think it's nice to not be dancing for a set purpose anymore. It's nice just to be able to dance. But at the same time, I'm definitely not as good as a dancer as I used to be, so there we go. Everything ups and downs. Gosh, I'm rambly, but I shouldn't be surprised because that's the point of comic commentary. It's because I ramble so much. I can't repost the karaoke video because it was filmed by someone else. and it has people in it who I don't think are camera confident, at least not camera confident when they are doing karaoke. So I don't own the footage, and I can't get the footage, so that would never be on the internet, I'm afraid. I'm sorry. But there we go. Moving on to last week's comment commentary, the last one that will be on a Wednesday, and my gosh, you guys went all out in the comments. You guys are awesome. Also, thank you to all the sun hats. You guys know who you are. You're the best. So Big Virgo Tube says, so Batman v Superman gets skewered everywhere, eh? Still gonna see it. I think that's kind of a lot of you who've commented on the Batman v Superman movie have kind of been along the lines of, it's getting skewered by critics, but I'm still gonna see it. I'm torn because, as I said, like, I've never really had a DC investment. I've never really had a particular investment in Batman or Superman. And the only reason why I've developed an investment in Marvel is because I've grown up with that Marvel Cinematic Universe. I think I was always, like, when it came to superheroes, my go-to superhero was Spider-Man, being the only one that I really was aware of before the movies really came out. I'm obviously culturally aware of the others, but I feel like I was aware of Spider-Man before the films came out. In like I have to go see that in the cinema type of thing. But when it comes to the other ones, like, my interest in that sort of world has come from the movies, and generally Marvel has done a better job with the movies. The X-Men films, like, I love the first X-Men film. Like, my little soul went straight out to Rogue, and I was like, yes, I want to be a mutant, but I don't want to be a mutant, but I do want to be a mutant. And after that, you know, the cinematic universe, I've grown up with it. So I really just don't have an investment in the DC heroes that much. My only reason, as I said many times, for going to see Batman v Superman would to go and see the Wonder Woman part. Because everything I've heard is that it's pretty damn fabulous. But I don't know, like, I think most of my friends have already gone to see it or have decided not to go see it. So I would be going on my own, which I'm fine with. Like, I do that. I like going to the cinema on my own. It's kind of, it's without the impact of others. You can just kind of sit back and enjoy and, you know, throw popcorn everywhere. I don't do that. That would be mean. Wow, I'm all over the place. This is a morning one. I usually film this in the afternoon, but this is, like, morning. Oh god, I'm going to work soon. Okay, moving on. Yes, I maybe see it, I maybe won't. I am undecided. If I'm stranded in town and I've got nothing else to do, then that would be on my list of things to watch, but it's not my highest priority. Whew. Chris has made me another meme, which is terrifying. I don't know whether or not this is going to become a regular thing, but now I'm suddenly really nervous about doing anything on camera because I'm scared it's going to get turned into a meme. That's probably going to end up being the meme. Oh god, Inception. Oh! Anyway. Another meme is there. If you want to check it out, go to the Project Chronicle channel or go back to the chat and you can click on that. Rambly Jenny is best Jenny. Rambly. And he also put in sun hat jokes. If you like sun hat dad jokes, that is totally a dad joke though. That's a classic. What did the sun hat say to the necklace? You hang around there, I'll go ahead. Yeah, that's full blown nice. Anyway, Big Virgo Tube says, just checked IMDb, and with, again, Batman v Superman with 1,400 user reviews, it's still holding a 7.5, not too shabby despite the critical hate. As I said in my reply to that, I don't think it's critical hate, I think it's mostly just critical disappointment. Again, I haven't seen the movie, so I can't comment from a personal standpoint, but from everything I've heard, it's not a bad movie, it's just not a good movie. It's not the level of organisation that the Marvel Cinematic Universe is, and it's just too many things crammed into one movie. It would have been better to do a Batman vs Superman and a Dawn of Justice movie, from what I've heard. But again, it's a very, very ambitious project. I think because in a weird way, because the Avengers movie was such an ambitious project and everyone was so nervous about the concept of a cinematic universe coming together in a film, and that film was a success, we assume that it's now easy to make a cinematic universe because it's been made. And it's not. It's still just as challenging as ever. And it was incredibly lucky and amazing that the Marvel Cinematic Universe even works, and we'll see how well it holds up. But there we go. Rambly, and talking of which, KSJ says, Rambly Gen to the max! Maximum ramble! Oh my gosh. And don't stop it. It's not gonna stop. It just keeps coming. Keeps going out my mouth and coming out into the camera and getting recorded, and that's how it works. He watched one episode of Hawaii Five-0 and thought it was dumb. I cannot deny that series is dumb. It's so dumb, and it's just my, like, when I really, really don't want to use my brain, it's the Hawaii Five-0 or Castle, and at least with Castle, it's so very self-aware. Like, at least it has that going for it. The only superhero series we've watched are Agent Carter and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which is also, you know, on my watching list / I watched that series list. I have to still recommend the Netflix Marvel series, but if you don't have Netflix, which he doesn't, then I can understand not being able to. But I can recommend them. There's a lot of really interesting series that I've never heard of, which he references. Killjoys, Defiance, Dark Matter, The Expanse. Assuming they're all Sci-Fi Channel shows. Sci-Fi Channel shows that I've watched, I basically just watched the Eureka TV universe. So that was Eureka, Warehouse 13, and Alphas, all part of the same sci-fi mini-universe. I watched all of those, and I did enjoy them. I was sad that Alphas didn't get a second series, but in many ways, Alphas was very similar to the 4400, and they both ended on the same cliffhanger, which is really annoying. They both kind of got to the same point and ended on the same cliffhanger, which is, what if everyone has powers? And that was it. That was the end of the series, and then it got cancelled, and I was like, no, not again! And they both starred Summer Glau. I love Summer Glau. I always get happy when I see her doing work, because I love her so much. She's awesome. Anyway, and another sun hat. Woo! Baxorn is another sun hat. Oh. Anywho, DC doesn't need any yes, the rebooting via time travel, or going back to a different time is a really, like, I think it worked pretty well in the X-Men and Star Trek series. Obviously with Star Trek, it was a bit complicated because, like, it was a lot easier to draw a final line between when everything ended and when they wanted to reboot. While with, you know, with X-Men, they obviously reboot halfway through the series. That was a very interesting choice, and to be honest, I think it works out pretty well, to do the time jump thing, through and through. I think, you know, to link those, because they had two universes going on at the same time, two different timelines. They had the Days of Future Past and the ongoing old series, if that makes any sense, kind of running parallel, and they wanted to link them up. And in order to do that, that was pretty creative, and to do that in one film, while still, like, kind of rebuilding the canon, but also like rebooting at the same time, like keeping the canon and rebooting while still it's somehow connecting. That's pretty impressive. While with obviously the Star Trek universe, they were like, this is the timeline, we cut it in half, and then it's an entirely new series. I think they both worked. I can't tell whether or not Baxon's being sarcastic or enthusiastic in this comment, because he said "sue" with what, 6 O's. So I can't tell whether or not he's being like, it worked out so well for the X-Men and Star Trek films, or it worked out so well for the X-Men and Star Trek films. I don't know, but I think they worked pretty well. Trying to make things modern and stick to the nostalgia is a very, 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 very difficult thing to do. And we shall see how the Star Wars universe builds as it goes. Obviously, with the flash forwards, flashback films coming out, Red One I'm really, really looking forward to because I love Felicity Jones. I've loved her since Northanger Abbey. She's one of my favourite English actresses, and I'm really glad that she's made such a nice jump to American little indie films, and I'm really happy to see her in something that's more kind of big. And she was also in, I believe, The Amazing Spider-Man 2, although don't quote me on that because I haven't seen that film, so. But yeah, I'm looking forward to Rogue One. I'm really hoping they do like a young Obi-Wan Kenobi film with that side of things. That would be nifty. But yeah, well, I'm interested to see how these enormous long-running franchises reboot and rejiggle as they go. It's really interesting. We're in a really interesting era of sequels, prequels, cinematic universes. You know, it's a new age of kind of almost TV-like movies at this point, where there's so many films that are being produced from the same baseline that you could almost, like, with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it's basically like we've had an entire season worth of stories in film form. Like, it's a really exciting and weird time for film lovers. You know, they say nothing's ever original anymore because of all these reboots, sequels, prequels, blah 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 blah. But the way that these are being produced and the way that they're all linked is so original and so unique. And trying to say something new with traditional media is really interesting. Again, I don't think it's the, like, everyone wants more unique original content, but I don't think we're in the age of that anymore. I think we're in the age of something new to be done with the movies as a genre. We shall see how it goes. Ramble. Oh my gosh, I need to do stuff in the rest of the day, and I've still got so many videos to go. Okay, Nathan Lyle says he thinks the main reason why we all love Daredevil was because of Evanescence. Little emo heart. I was never a proper emo, but I empathise with the emo movement, and a lot of my friends are emo, and I did love Evanescence. It spoke to my soul when I was that age. Yes, music really does affect movies, and I love seeing that as a means of communication. Like, movie soundtracks really do affect so much. When you see, like, Jake Jarvie, who does Platoon of Terror Squadron, he's done like an audio breakdown for some big movies for how he does his series Pops, which is amazing. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's so good. So tangenty. But he's done like audio breakdowns, and if you actually listen, like close your eyes and listen to like a high-end movie during an action sequence, like the amount of audio layers and how that plays in is amazing. Like the lack of audio versus audio rendering is, like, it does really make a difference to how you view a movie and how you experience a movie. Like, you know, Mad Max, that sort of like the music and aspects of that and the sound aspects of that are probably about, I don't know, 20% of the overall viewing experience. It's just audio. And that's an incredibly visual film. In fact, I'd say probably 40% of the experience of watching Mad Max is just audio. And then probably 50% of it is just visual, and then 10% for everything else. But yeah, it's an amazing film. Anyway, music in films is awesome, and really does affect how films are viewed. Arrow, yeah, found Flash, Torch, for some reason. Couldn't get into Supergirl. Yeah. I'll give the DC TV universe another shot sooner or later, but it's just not high on my list. I just don't have time. Dawn of Justice would disappoint in many ways. They definitely could have done things better, but again, not a complete waste of time. It's kind of the overall consensus for Batman v Superman. It's okay, not complete waste of time, but could have done things better. And another sun hat. Woo! Mono Grateful. Grateful? I should pronounce your name right by now. It's really bad. Mono Grateful. Is that right? I hope so. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna call you Mono. That makes life easier. I've heard a lot of good things about The Witch. I've heard that it's like really beautifully shot, natural lighting, slow build, good classic horror concepts. Like you feel like you shouldn't be watching it, but you're watching it anyway. It's kind of on my to watch list, just because I like really interesting horror movies, but I don't really like being scared. So I've heard good things about it. I just haven't got around to watching it. And I will see. Again, I'm like not that much time in the world right now. And also asked about whether or not I'd be doing any cosplay for last year's request for Alphonse Mucha versus Norman Lindsay sort of cosplay, so kind of pre-Raphaelite nymphy type cosplays. And as I said, it's difficult to find an occasion to make cosplays. Cosplays are a lot of effort, and as I talked about in my cosplay series last year, I have a lot of rules about cosplays, from making sure that it's recognizable, so you know and your friends know who you're playing, knowing that you can actually, like, in many ways it's better to do something simple and do it well than there's do something complicated and feel disappointed if you haven't done it as well as you would like. Being suited to my body type, like actually doing what flatters you and altering costumes according to what flatters you physically, and you feel confident in, versus if you're going to wear a really sexy outfit and then you spend your entire time going, I don't like showing off my navel, then it's probably not a good cosplay for you. I have a lot of rules like that, everything from colours and patterns and all of that sort of thing, and with that sort of classic pre-Raphaelite era type costumes, there's usually a lot of fabric, which is quite expensive, which is another one of my rules. I try and keep within a certain budget. And it's also relatively tricky, and it's not particularly recognisable, and I don't have an occasion for it. I don't have a set destination for when that cosplay would need to be made and who I'd wear it with. It would just be for the internet, which kind of seems, as much as I love you guys, I'm not going to spend hours and hours on a cosplay just to show it off online. I'd rather be able to, like, go out in it and, do live things with it as well. So if ever there is a cosplay that I'm working on which works within that sort of genre, I will of course share it with you guys, but it's going to be difficult to find a cosplay that works that I would also wear at home, wear here, all those sort of things. Whew, moving on. Okay. KSJ is a repeat comment. I've already responded to that one. And Eric Dye says, placeholder sun hat. So yay, another sun hat. Oh my gosh, I'm dreading how long this video is. I'm gonna. Okay, it's not too bad yet, but I've still got another 3, 4, 5, a lot to go. Okay. On my Shakespeare speed reading, something fun Friday video. The thing with this video was that it was a lot of my videos recently have been to try and challenge myself to vocal challenges, to see how well I can public speak and stuff, because I don't know whether or not you guys know this, I am quite dyslexic, so sometimes when I'm saying words they come out all funny, so every now and then I challenge myself to do something challenging vocalization-y wise, to just see whether or not I can do it. It's the reason why I like tongue twisters so much, like actually thinking of thoughts and trying to communicate them as fast as possible and as smoothly as possible, and come up with interesting ways of doing it. And quite a few of my Something Fun Friday videos for the last couple of weeks have been along those sort of reasoning, and this video was no exception, just challenging myself to speak as fast as possible and try and make it as logical and coherent and as smooth as possible. And particularly when I'm reading from something, it's much, much more challenging. Now, obviously, I did cheat slightly because I did originally learn that entire script, so I was familiar with that scene. So it wasn't just me reading something for the first time and just saying it. It was me kind of half reading as a prompt, but also half memorizing it. Alack, it is not like that I, etc., etc. and so on and so forth. So that's the reason for that video. In case you're wondering, it wasn't so much as a Shakespearean recital, it was more of a see how fast I can read this for the sake of reading it. I was actually looking at a couple of song lyrics beforehand to be like, maybe I should do like a song that I know really, really well. I was going to do maybe a Panic at the Disco or something like that. Please leave all overcoats, kins and top hats with the doorman. From that moment you'll be out of place and addressed. I reckon this view, etc, etc, etc. But I decided on Shakespeare instead because it seemed more in character as me and myself and I. And also because I knew that section of that particular script particularly well. Such a long video, guys. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay. Big Versa Tube says, all the world is a stage and all the men and the women are players, etc, etc, etc. Again, it's very hard to read that fast because you haven't put any spaces in, but very, very fast. KSJ says, but soft, what light through mobile phone screen breaks. I do like modern adaptations of traditional classics. Like, one of my favourite books in terms of twisting language is Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, which is the reason why I'm so worried about the film. Because Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, the books, really, really does stick to the language structures of Austen. Like, it sticks to the world, it sticks to the language, and then twists the final concepts. While the film seems to be very much like, hey, why don't we have a zombie apocalypse movie in the, whatever year is it, Regency era. Why don't we just have zombies in the Regency era? And that's about it. It doesn't seem to be very, very connected to Pride and Prejudice, which the whole charm of that book is that it's so very, very built into the world, and then they just added ninjas and zombies. While the film seems to be very much let's just take some concepts of the era, twist them a little bit, sexy them up a little bit, and then add zombies. Like, I don't think there's going to be much links to the actual Pride and Prejudice plot. But there we go. We'll see how that film turns out when it eventually comes out. God knows when it's going to come out. It's been coming out for years. Anyway, Nathan Lyle says, oh my gosh, I've got to go to work soon. He doesn't say that. Nathan Lyle says, he never likes speed reading and prefer to take his time enjoying the words. If a book is 300 pages, it will take a month to finish. Yeah, I'm very much along the lines of I do like reading slowly. Up until I was about 15, 16, and I had to start reading books for projects and for school. I read a book on average of at least 3 times. I'd read it once to enjoy it, once as a speed read, and once again as like a getting into the details. So I would read books 3 times. So that obviously took a lot of time out of my life. But it really did mean that I could, like, you know, I was never speed reading. I didn't miss anything. I could, you know, read into the details and that sort of thing. So yeah, it's all fun. Moving on to meeting Meta. Meta, who is awesome and wonderful and lovely. Internet friends and IRL encounters. Okay, so Mark said he can't wait to meet the Rooster Teeth family at RTX this summer in 3D. Meeting them in 3D. Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. I've only really started to become connected to Rooster Teeth via the Know. I've been aware of Rooster Teeth for a long time, but I haven't really subscribed to much of their stuff because they just produce so much content through such a variety of different channels. It's hard to subscribe to the entire Rooster Teeth family. But yes, I have started watching the Know, and so I have started to kind of eke into their little world. The trouble with Rooster Teeth is because, again, they produce so much content through so many channels, and in the back of my brain I am still a little bit kind of like, I have to watch all the content, and I just don't have enough time in my life to do all of that. KSJ says, if you're reading this, then I'm a figure of your imagination. Bum bum ba. Okay, I'll take your word for it. Drinking game. Take a shot every time Jenny says weird. I said weird quite a lot because it is weird meeting people in real life. It's strange and bizarre. Nathan Lyle says he's never met someone in real life because of catfishes. Catfishes are real. I have been very lucky. I do, you know, sensible precautions are a sensible thing to do, like having backup, both in terms of public places and, you know, connections and trusting people. You know, being sensible when meeting anyone is a good thing. You know, taking health and safety precautions in the most basic way is just looking after yourself. You know, have a phone on hand, have a point of contact, have somewhere safe to go to, public places, you know, that sort of thing. You know, not letting yourself be kind of roped into anything unusual, and yeah, like never ever bring money into it. That's just something that you need to take into account. I have been very, very lucky, and as I mentioned in that video, I met a couple of people that I've only really known through forums, but in those cases I did have people that I trusted who were backing them up before I met them in real life. And again, I met them in public places. I, you know, had photos of what they actually looked like IRL, and I'd be like, hey, it's you! I missed you! So yeah, that's pretty awesome. But yeah, I have been lucky with that, and you know, it's all a matter of being safe within your own limits. Radio 7 Studio says, he's met 2 people from the internet, and it's always weird. The first one was, they was a friend of a friend who was trying to set them up. They're actually now good friends now, which I did follow that just about. Yeah, it is awkward when it comes to meeting people in real life, because, again, I show only a certain part of myself, both physically and mentally, and I've talked about that before. Like, there are certain things I won't talk about, and there's certain things I won't show, and there's certain things, you know, that I don't interact with my internet life. But again, it's an uneven relationship. Like, for most of you who comment, I don't know what you look like. I don't know what you sound like. You know, all of those parts of things. And, you know, even if I did know what you look like to sound like, meeting you in real life is, you know, meeting you in 3D is something that you can't really do. So, you know, it's one of those things that it's a slightly uneven relationship. There are sometimes assumptions where, like, I've met people from the internet who have been like, hey, you know me, and I'm like, I don't know how to react to this. You're assuming that I know you because we both exist in the same space, but I can't know everyone. So I can see that point. It is an uneven relationship. And it's one of the reasons why I'm not ever naked on the Naked Truths, is because of the uneven nature of the relationship. It feels more uncomfortable because I don't know what situation I'm in to the equivalent. And it's a very complicated thing, and it's still something that I'm kind of working through. I think anyone who does do stuff on the internet has to think about and has to kind of work around is how much of themselves to put on the internet and how that affects their relationship with other people who, you know, either produce content on the internet or participate in the internet culture. It's a very complicated thing. Sean says magical. Yes. Sean is also a friend of Meta, so it's kind of a nice little circle going on there. Moving on. On to my creativity and DMing for the first time, also books. Backdoor says a nerd level at 9,000, over 9,000. Yes, nerd levels are pretty peaking. KSJ says, and happy Easter to you. May your eggs be solid and your chocolate bunnies be unbroken. I was very good this year. I only had 1 Cadbury's cream egg and only 1 large size egg. And I haven't even had my packet of Skittles, which I owe myself because I gave them up. So I owe myself a packet of Skittles. But I have a problem around this time of year that I can't go into any sort of shop without buying myself a Cadbury's cream egg. It's like a full, like, little addiction in my heart. Okay, on to the last video of that week, which was technically the 8th video for that week, because I realised that somewhere along the lines I'd fallen behind with my videos, my daily vlogging, so I did an extra video that day. And so Nathan Lyle says, no, I will not leave a comment. I refuse to participate in the shenanigans. More for you then. KSJ says, my soup bowl sized teacups amuse him. And just for something you can watch my reflection. I don't usually work with the mirror. I don't particularly like my profile. It's mostly just one of those things, and it's so easy to have, like, because I always use a forward-facing camera. It's very easy not to know what you look like from the side, and because I'm so used to this, when I look at myself from the side, it feels a bit kind of like, oh god, why knows why. But that's the reason why I put the mirror up and, like, kind of did it from that angle, mostly because I wanted to be snuggled up in that corner. But it was also like, you know, I feel like I should show another side to myself, as it were. But there we go. Did I get a new camera, says Torcy. I know I did not. Same camera as normal. Sometimes there's an autofocus button on the side of the camera, which is just like a little, like, you know, when I'm adjusting the lens, sometimes I accidentally click it, and I don't know, because I don't have a forward-facing screen on my camera. I don't know if I've clicked that button or not. So sometimes the autofocus is like, ooh, 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 and sometimes it's just focused and fixed. And I never know which one it is. So if that's why it looked weird, that's why it looked weird. Oh, that's my alarm. Okay, I've got to finish this up quickly. Okay, so sometimes I accidentally tip the autofocus, but it's the same camera as always. I'm not working on better lighting. The lighting is getting better because it's coming into spring, so I can actually film in daylight more. Also, because I repainted my room, I have these lovely cream walls, which means that generally the light is much better in here. When the walls were purple, they absorbed the light like nobody's business. So generally the light is a lot better in the evening. I've also got another couple of lamps around the place, so that might be helping with it. And there was no comments on Trisha's Naked Truth last week, which was on inspiration, but that's probably because I'm producing so many videos. I've already done a couple of videos on inspiration and on D&D, so, you know, there wasn't really much new information there unless you only watch these videos for Naked Truth, in which case you're not watching this video, at least not at however many minutes I'm in. I'm not going to look. Anyway, I usually don't do this, but because I spotted it, I was like, okay, I will respond to this. I found an old comment, well, a new comment on an old video, and because of I found the community section on the Creator Studio, I can actually respond to that. So, Ericu Othaqui, that is one hell of a name, and I'm sorry for butchering it so phenomenally. Has said, commented on my Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy movie review from ages ago. I think it was a Hairy Movie Club video, but it's back when my room was purple and my bookshelf that's no longer in my room was over in that corner, and my DVDs were just in a pile and they weren't in the bookcases, and it was a different era. But yes, commented and said thank you for the good review, pretty much, and was really disappointed that the modern film sacrificed so much of the dialogue and humour of the original series for the sake of unnecessary plot lines, which is basically what I said in that review anyway. And it's very glad that BBC miniseries is still in circulation. I haven't watched that series in so long, because my classic one is, of course, the even older version, which is the radio play. But I can't recommend the radio play or the books enough. And if you've read or listened to those, then the BBC miniseries is probably better than the modern film, just because it takes less liberties with the actual original content, but does take a lot more. It's 80s, so it is quite dated at this point, but again, I haven't watched it as an adult, so it may be better than I remember it being, but I remember it being better than the modern film in terms of actually staying true to the content. And as I said in that video, I pride myself on being able to separate the fictional universes, but Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, it's the one exception to being like, I'm true to the original series. The original series is so much better. And with that comparison, it was hard to enjoy the actual modern film. Anyway, that is the end of the commentary. So, thank you all for watching. Feel free to comment. As I said, some of you comment little sections as you go, some of you leave it as a big block comment. But either way, I will respond to them via text. and I will respond to them in this form. And I do try and get every single comment that I possibly can. Sometimes I miss a few. You know, I'm not infallible, and sometimes my time runs out. But I do try my bestest. Other than that, pretty much that's it. For those of you who don't know, for those who are wondering why I kept talking about sun hats, at the end of this video, because I do ramble on for so long, 45 minutes, holy macaroni! Oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no. I've got work in like 20 minutes. Sugar sticks. Words and stuff and things. For those of you who don't know, at the end of each video I put in a secret word, which you can certainly put in the comments, or put it blatantly if you like, which is so that I know which of you have actually watched the end of the video, because that's always interesting, because I like to know that there's insane people out there, because then I feel less alone. So today's secret word of the day is seashell. Secret word of the day, seashell. So if you put that word in the comments, then I shall know that you have watched all the way to the end of the video, and I'll be able to be like, yay, seashells next week, because there's always a couple of you crazy folks. Anyway, I've really got to run. Feel free to comment, and as always, if you comment on any of my videos from this week, I will talk about them next week. I don't think it'll be a regular thing, me talking about old comments, but just because I liked that video, and new people and new people. Also, that was a fabulous name, so there we go. Thank you for watching. Feel free to comment, and I will see you guys all. Oh, my alarm's going off again. Okay, bye, guys!